And I hope we can all agree that immigration policy should be grounded in the ideal of what's in our best interests as American citizens. America is our home. And when I say our, I mean we the people, citizens of the United States. America is our home. We get to decide who we adopt, and we get to decide who comes here and how long they stay. Now, I know that may sound like a revolutionary statement to some of my friends on the left who believe that we stole this land, or to those who believe that the founders were deplorable human beings. But we are, after all, a nation of laws, not a nation of grievance groups and hurt feelings. The U.S. Constitution clearly delegates authority on immigration matters exclusively to the federal government. Under the long-standing doctrine in American constitutional law known as dual sovereignty, states cannot be compelled to enforce federal immigration laws, but they are obliged not to hinder their enforcement. So-called sanctuary cities, these are outlaw entities that I refer to as harboring havens. They really ought to be called the New Confederacy, because they are in open rebellion against the United States, just like the slave states that seceded from the Union before the Civil War. The mayors of these cities remind me of segregationist George Wallace standing in the schoolhouse door defying federal law enforcement authorities. The harboring haven movement has given illegal aliens permission to rob, rape, and murder Americans by, among other things, stigmatizing immigration enforcement. Before I detail some of the mayhem that's taken place right here in Maine, let's talk briefly about the dollars and cents costs of illegal immigration to Maine taxpayers. According to the Federation for American Immigration Reform, FAIR, about 5,000 illegal aliens live in Maine. Now, we can argue about that number. It's obviously not precise or exact, but it is consistent with the estimate of 11 million illegal aliens nationally, a number that's pretty much universally accepted as the minimum, with some credible estimates ranging to upwards of 20 million illegal immigrants currently in the United States. Based on the estimate of 5,000 illegals in Maine, FAIR estimates the cost to state and local taxpayers at $41 million annually. Since those 5,000 illegals pay only about $1 million a year in taxes, the net cost to Maine taxpayers is about $40 million a year. $22 million for education, $3 million for health care, $3 million for law enforcement, $4.5 million for public assistance, and $8 million for general government services. Again, members of this committee may disagree with these estimates. You may have a different estimate of the number of illegal immigrants. But nobody can deny that there is a real and substantial cost. Illegal immigration is a net drain on the state treasury. Whatever the cost is, it is not zero. So let's talk about how we got to where we are today with regard to illegal immigration in Maine. In 2004, Governor John Baldacci issued an executive order that made the entire state of Maine a harboring haven for illegal immigrants. State employees were barred from asking anyone applying for welfare benefits about their immigration status. In effect, we told the world that although we are a poor state, we have generous welfare benefits, and we don't care if you're an illegal immigrant. Come to Maine and sign up. Governor Paul LePage rescinded that order on his first day in office, putting an end to Maine's open borders policy. And for that, the people of Maine owe Governor LePage a debt of gratitude. Governor LePage turned off one of the magnets that was drawing illegals to Maine, but there was no way to undo the damage of Baldacci's executive order. The doors had been wide open for the better part of a decade. The LePage executive order did not undo Portland's city ordinance that forbids police and city employees from inquiring into anybody's immigration status. The ordinance also prohibits city police from sharing information about criminal suspects with federal immigration authorities, except in very limited circumstances. Portland's harboring haven ordinance was enacted in 2003. And city leaders boasted at the time that they were following the lead of San Francisco, Los Angeles, New York City, Miami, and Denver. Portland officials admitted at the time that they had not received any complaints that police or other city workers had ever asked anyone about their immigration status. I'm going to repeat that. Portland officials admitted at the time they had not received any complaints that police or other city workers had ever asked anyone about their immigration status. Talk about a solution in search of a problem. For me, it's hard to understand why politicians in Portland would want to handcuff and muzzle their own police department, especially just 2 years after the 9/11 terrorist attacks. Portland is the only municipality in the state that I know of with a harboring haven ordinance, although it's possible that other municipalities have informal, unwritten, don't ask, don't tell policies in place. It's also baffling to me why the city of Portland would take $1.7 million of state aid to education in the biennial budget 3 years ago and divert that money to an account that gives welfare benefits to non-citizens, including illegal immigrants. If you wanted to make your municipality a magnet for illegal immigrants, including terrorists, that's the ticket. Let the whole world know that your local police department won't even ask criminal suspects if they're in the country legally. And let the illegals know that they can sign up for welfare benefits too. Make no mistake, these policies and practices have life and death consequences for Maine people. 49-year-old Freddie Okoa of Portland was beaten to death in his Cumberland Avenue apartment on the evening of August 9, 2015. Court documents revealed that 3 assailants beat and kicked him for hours and bashed Okoa in the head with furniture. Okoa had 22 rib fractures from the savage attack, cuts and bruises all over his head and torso, and a lacerated liver when his assailants left him on the living room floor of his apartment. Police found a blood-splattered Bible on the floor next to his head. His body was not discovered until 2 days later, after his mother contacted building management to let them know that she was not able to reach her son. On August 13th, 4 days after the savage murder, 3 Portland residents aged 23, 31, and 36 were arrested and charged with murder. With bail set at $500,000 for each man, they were jailed awaiting trial or a plea. Would anyone be shocked to learn that none of the killers is a U.S. citizen? I still don't know exactly what their immigration status is, and neither does the Assistant Attorney General who prosecuted the case. Imagine that. To this day, the prosecutor doesn't know their legal status. He doesn't know if they're refugees, or asylees, or dreamers, or here on student visas, and he doesn't seem to be in any hurry to find out. Here's another fact I discovered without too much detail. The 31-year-old killer has 33 prior criminal convictions. In fact, the 3 killers had 68 arrests between them prior to the murder of Freddie Okoa. Their criminal history file is 82 pages long. Here's the bottom line for me. These guys should have been deported long before they had a chance to beat Freddie Okoa to death. If you're not a U.S. citizen, you're our guest here, and you better be on your best behavior. One strike, you're out. These guys should have been deported after their first brush with the law. And if the city of Portland had been sharing information with federal immigration authorities, the killers would have been deported or in federal detention, and Freddie Okoa would still be alive today. The Okoa murder is not an isolated case. Less than a year ago, the man charged with murder in the 2015 death of a teenager in a Portland recording studio pleaded guilty to the murder charge. A judge sentenced gang Majok to 30 years in prison for the death of Scarborough teen Trey Arsenal. Majok, who also goes by the nickname Bang Bang, shot Arsenal multiple times in a crowded recording studio in Portland's Old Port. Investigators say Arsenal was an innocent victim just listening to a friend sing when he got caught in the middle of the shooting. Majok is not a U.S. citizen. He came to the U.S. from Sudan in 2002. The victim's mother, Nancy Laxton, says she believes Majok should have been deported after committing other crimes. I'm a nurse, I help everybody, and I think when you do something wrong, you don't have the right to be here, Laxton said. It's not fair. If that had happened to him a long time ago, being deported, Trey would still be here. But we can't take back time, so hopefully we can make laws that will help other people. Majok is also facing charges in separate cases, including aggravated assault and drug trafficking. Once again, this is a case of a career criminal non-citizen with a long rap sheet. But because the politicians in Portland handcuffed and muzzled their own police department, federal immigration authorities were never notified. Trey Arsenault would be alive today were it not for Portland's harboring haven ordinance. LB 1833 would require all municipalities in Maine to comply with federal immigration law, and it would prohibit policies that forbid police officers from initiating an inquiry into anyone's immigration status. Towns and cities that continue to defy federal immigration law by harboring illegal immigrants would face fines of $500 a day until they come into compliance. These are common sense measures, and I'm frankly surprised with the controversy that's been generated. Enactment of LB 1833 will save lives, and it will save money. It will shut off one of the magnets that attracts violent criminal aliens to settle here. Fellow legislators, it's time to make Maine safe again. I urge the members of this committee to send the bill to the legislature with a unanimous ought to pass report.